Welcome to Western Perspective. I'm Madeline Lombardi. March 29, 1973 marks the anniversary the last US military unit fighting in the Vietnam War returned home to America. This was a significant day to both American and Vietnamese people as it signified the beginning of the end to what was almost a 20-year-long war. WAMN News was fortunate enough to speak with Dr. An from the Vietnamese community in Australia WA chapter about his expertise and knowledge of the life in Vietnam post-war.
I think the 29th of March is the rest of the Allied forces withdraw from Vietnam. Yes. Because both sides have signed the Paris Accord 1973 to end the Vietnam War. But the thing is, the South Vietnam and the Allied forces honor the treaty, so they withdraw, and they expect that both sides will cease fire and stay there where they were to end the war. But the North Vietnam, under the communist rule, continue to invade. They continue to bring tanks and artillery and infantry to the south. And while the south was what we call it, they didn't have any further financial assistance from the Allied forces like America. So they run out of ammunition, they run out of the logistics, and they have no way to defend against the very strong force from the north. That's why a month later, the 30th of April 1975, the South Vietnam collapsed because of that.
Okay, so
the significance of the Allied withdrawal from Vietnam is to leave us without any defense capacity.
Okay. So following that date of March 29th, 1973, so this year's kind of, I guess, mark of when the US troops left Vietnam, was it a difficult process for Vietnamese people to recover and build ties with countries who fought against them during that war?
I think because of that, everybody panicked because we left with nothing to defend ourselves. So during 73 to 75, 2 years there, was a very hard time for everyone because a lot of people don't know what to do, and the prospect of being collapsed is very clear in front of us. And the North Vietnam continue to invade. They don't care about what they signed in the 1973 Paris Accord. So it was a terrible time for all of us, a panic in the whole country. Yeah.
Vietnamese people still living with the repercussions of poisoning tactics such as Agent Orange, and does it still affect some people's day-to-day life following 50 years on as well?
Yes, the issue of the orange chemical is still disputable because we have no way to link them together. I mean, some people try to link the orange with the birth defects and things in Vietnam now, but the thing is, 50 years already passed, and we still have a lot of controversy about the orange chemical. And it's very hard to pin the orange to current defects in a country where the health system is very poor. I mean, they don't have any good health system like us in here, and the health system fall under the hands of the private sectors, and no money, no treatment. So a lot of people might have the STI disease, the sexual transmitted illness, or any other defects that's never been found out. And the best way, the easy way, is to blame the orange chemical.
The Vietnamese people, in my opinion, are very resilient people coming from this war. Can you tell us how the country has recovered from the war 50 years on, and what people have learned from what happened in Vietnam during the 60s and 70s?
I think we're talking about the post-war era. People to stay in Vietnam, they still have to live, and then they still progress as everybody else in the world. But there's a lot of things like the pollution of the environment is a deliberate act and the government try not to solve the problem. For example, the Formosa, where the steel factory discharge all the chemical into the sea and cause a lot of poisoning to the east coast, along the east coast. And the government not trying to solve the problem because corruption is a culture in Vietnam now under the monopoly of the Communist Party. So people who set up the steel factory or any other factory in Vietnam, they already bribe the local officers. So when something happened like that, the people stand up against it, but the government try to suppress it because they already been bribed to have it. So people from the outside come to Vietnam, they will be overwhelmed by the beauty of the country and the good thing about the people. But behind those things, the Communist Party still run the same thing. Very very bad dictator, and they even rob lands, agricultural land to build resort and things like that. And they when they did it, they what they say, the government and the people are virtually rivals or enemies. They don't care about the people. So things like the pollution of the environment, not just the Orange Agent. I don't think the Orange Agent caused that kind of long-term effect. But the current pollution of the environment in Vietnam is very bad. And the thing like the Chinese government built the dams along the Mekong River in the northern part of Vietnam, and they bring the level of water down, and the seawater floods in and cause a lot of changes and damage to the agricultural lands. And nobody say anything about it. The government turned a blind eye on everything. So people have to live and have to thrive, and they done it very well, very resilient, as you said. Yes, that's correct. But then they suffer a lot. So even now, people are still looking at leaving Vietnam for a better life. There are a lot of asylum seekers that we know of in the last few years, and then people who have money still want to send their kids away from Vietnam. Not just the life, but the education system is very bad. The health system is very bad. They want their kids to live in a better environment like Australia, America, Europe, Canada, things like that.
I think that's very worth noting as well, because when I went over there, I did notice, obviously, Vietnam is a communist country. There are things that we, I guess, as tourists or people that are visiting the country don't see for face value, because there are things, as you were saying, that kind of go on in the background that I guess people that are visiting are unaware of, which is really interesting to kind of get your opinion on, I guess, Vietnam post-war and Vietnam today, and kind of that influence of what's happened. And I guess there are a lot of Vietnamese people, as you were saying, who are wanting to flee the country and go to countries like Australia or America, as you were saying, because there are things going on behind the scenes that a lot of people are unaware about. So I thank you very much for your opinion and expertise today, Dr. An. We appreciate you talking with us.
Yeah, I think that I'm very glad that you know something behind the scene, because the government shut down anyone who says something against the government. And even an Australian, Mr. Chow, CHIU, he went to Vietnam and they blamed him as a terrorist in the Vietnam party, and they imprisoned him, and no way to rescue him because he's Australian. And the government here, so scared of the mutual agreement between the two countries, they don't want to interfere. Yeah. And it's worth to note that after post-war 1975, instead of uniting the country, the communists revenged the previous government officials, revenged everyone. So 2 million escaped by boat, about 500,000 perished on the sea. That's why we are here. That's why we always commemorate the 30th of April, 1975, the day that brought darkness into our country. Thank you so much, Dan. and hope that my information is a little bit useful to you.
Definitely. Thank you very much for speaking with us, Dr. And we appreciate you and your opinion as well, and your expertise and knowledge about the situation in Vietnam as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Dr. An, the WA President of the Vietnamese community in Australia. You can read our weekly premium stories on the WAMN Extra News Club, supporting independent local news and keeping democracy strong. And now here's Leo Puglisi with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. On 6 News, Liberals start to take sides in the voice to Parliament while some state leaders remain undecided ahead of the upcoming referendum. The clean-up begins on Western Australia's coast after tropical cyclone Ilsa hit the state. And Joe Biden says he will announce a 2024 presidential run relatively soon as Republican hopefuls vow to defend the US's Second Amendment. Watch live on our YouTube channel and our website, 6newsau.com. For now though, guys, it's back to you.
Thanks, Leo. And that's all from Western Perspective this week. We'll be back with you next week on Sunday. Until then, Ivan and Melly, it's back to you both.
Thanks, Maddie. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.